guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm back here at Walker Ford in super sunny, hot Clearwater, Florida. And guess what? I have something hot coming from Ford, and it's this vehicle right here. What is it? It's the all-new redesigned 2024 Mustang, and this one is the one you want to see, the GT. But before we get into the continuation of this V8 powered performance car, let's talk about what's going on here. It's crazy to think that we're in a day and age where things are shrinking. Engines are getting smaller in displacement, adding of turbochargers and hybrid technology, and of course, full BEVs, full battery electric vehicles. Ford is going to continue that good old tradition of true on-throttle experience with an internal combustion engine. And they didn't just do a carryover, they are now pumping out more horsepower and also bringing more new technology to the interior of the Mustang GT. Now, there's still some different ways you could go with your performance car money in this price range. You could go a Toyota Supra, you could go a Nissan Z, Mustang GT, but guess what? 2024 is the end of the line of the Camaro and also the Dodge Challenger. So what I want to find out is, if you're looking for a performance car and you don't have gobs and gobs of money to buy the most expensive one you can find, is the Mustang GT the better one to go with over a Nissan Z or a Supra? Let's go ahead. Let's dive into this iconic silver Mustang GT and find out. Right off the bat, the new shape. It's familiar, but you could also tell that there's some major differences. Now, first of all, I just want to proclaim that iconic silver is one of my favorite colors on a Mustang. Even when I bought my Shelby GT350R, if they didn't have the special Heritage Edition that I got, I probably would have went iconic silver with black racing stripes. But on this new Mustang GT, the silver pops nicely. You'll see at the front of the business, full LED headlights, triple LED beam with the LED daytime running lamps and turn signals. I love the way that they kept that tri-bar setup, but they did it in a different way to let you know that there's something special going on here. Now, as you drop down, you do have this vent area, which the bad news is the zonk is on the driver's side, it's blocked off. I mean, you can literally see it's blocked off. So I am gonna zonk that, but we're only gonna give a half a zonk because you'll see when we get to the other side, it's gonna be functional. And I don't know why they did that, especially with trying to flow as much air for aerodynamics and cooling and everything, why they would block that off. Now, if you go dark horse, that isn't blocked off. So just something to be aware of. It's a different front end anyways on a dark horse. And the dark horse is the top performance trim for the current Mustang. You'll notice the flat black little extra lip that they add, not so much a splitter, it's more of just an extra lip for aero. And then as we come across that front grille section, this one, you could see that nice, almost looks like polished aluminum pony. That horse has been there since 1964 and a half. Now, it's interesting to think that when they were coming up with the Mustang name, originally this car wasn't supposed to be called the Mustang. They actually threw around the name Maverick, which we now know is on a truck, but once upon a time it was on another Mustang, another Ford vehicle, another car. They even thought about calling this the Torino. So it's interesting how eventually they settled on the Mustang name and of course that iconic badge. You'll notice on the Mustang GT up top, you have gloss black on the upper grille trim. Everything is functional, and I'm glad that they kept those nostrils on both sides of the grille, really enlarged it and made it more defined, especially because underneath the hood, one of the newest additions is an extra throttle body. So if you think about it, if you got two throttle bodies, you're gonna need double the flow on both sides to feed air into that V8. On the lower portion, you have a little bit of flat black, and I like the way that they extended that lower section out to form the splitter to give us that downforce. One of the things that's interesting, I don't know if you can see it on camera, is that this actually has active shutters that open and close to increase efficiency when you're on the highway, and the doors right now are fully open. Now, as we rise up what do we got going on? Of course, you have a lot of real estate between the A-pillars and the front nose section because we have that V8. You're gonna get your bulge. It's a slight bulge, but it's a bulge nonetheless. And the way that they shape the heat extractor, I'm digging it. Gloss black, like the front grille, that's gonna help pull that hot air out, and also, like I said, for aerodynamic efficiency, and it gives it a unique look. Now, I know everybody and their mother's been arm wrestling, tongue wrestling, maybe there's even some mud wrestling or jello wrestling going on. I'll let you use your imagination, but a lot of people say this looks like the Camaro, and I have to agree, there's definitely some similarity between the outgoing Camaro, 6th gen Camaro, and this 7th gen Mustang. Now, when we come around the bend, what are we working with wheel and tire setup? What's great about the Mustang is from the factory, you could personalize this thing so many different ways for 2024. This one has these upgraded wheels, 19 by 8.5, so 19 inches in diameter, 8.5 inches by width. I do like the Y spoke, and I'm actually digging the metallic silver. Let me know how you feel about the metallic silver. You see the larger brake rotors, and then this one has the optional Brembo calipers. Smurf Blue, actually they don't call it Smurf Blue, it's called Grabber Blue, 6-piston Brembo calipers. Really adds, like I said, not only personalization, it's gonna increase your braking capability, and it allows you to really make the vehicle unique. Now, what's fascinating is that this car has Brembos all 4 corners. There's a lot of performance cars out there that you get Brembos up front, but then they give you stock rear brakes out back. So very interesting, they went that route. Of course, they retuned the suspension. And let me know how you feel about the silver. I'm glad to see a different color wheel. Everything seems to be black. The silver, I think, pops nicely with the Papa Smurf Blue, Grabber Blue 6-piston Brembo caliper. And if you're wondering, well, Joe, what is the size of this front tire? You're basically looking at, when it comes to this tire setup, 255 on the width, 40 series sidewall, and like I said, 19-inch wheel. Now, as we work our way back, you got the 5.0 badge. It's back again, looking good. 5 liters of pure V8 muscle car performance. Iconic silver on the mirror caps. There's no sunroof whatsoever on a Mustang. Let me know how you feel about that, if they should add a Mustang sunroof. Once upon a time, they used to have a glass roof. I don't know, I personally wouldn't go that route, but let me know if you missed the glass roof. It was a one-piece glass roof option. Now, on the lower side, I like the way they did this indentation, and of course, the side skirt comes down nicely. It's reminiscent of the previous generation, but like I said, you could definitely tell something is different. This section is another controversial area. A lot of people are calling it Camaro, but it does have that beautiful fastback flared out style that you have seen on Mustangs from the past. Of course, out back, I didn't lie to you, look at the beefy freaking Brembos, man. Love the way they have those all 4 corners, and we'll talk about price and how much those are in a few moments. Coming around back, this one has your wedge. They call this the wedge, not a wedgie. That's something that I'm sure maybe you got back when you were in elementary school. This is the wedge spoiler, trunklet spoiler. Nice style, super clean. The way they did the tri-bar taillights, I'm telling you, I'm really, really digging it, especially that concave shape to them. Very unique on how they did this rear trunk area. Of course, you have the GT badge. And then one of the things that, I don't know, I think maybe they might have went just a little overboard is the amount of flat black on this lower bumper area. I feel like maybe they should have trimmed this down a little bit, but the great news is we have the Ford Performance Active Exhaust quad tip on both sides. Give us a nice rumble, or you can make it a little quieter depending on what you're trying to accomplish with the friendships in your neighborhood, especially your next door neighbor. But we went around this whole vehicle. Let's go ahead, let's pop the hood and take a look at the heart of this horse. All right, guys, we got the hood popped. For 2024, you are getting hood struts, which are nice. No more prop rod. You'll see the functional heat extractor, really wide open. I love the way they did that. And then down below, there's the heart of this horse. That is the upgraded, updated 5-liter V8 engine, naturally aspirated, now pumping out 480 horsepower, 418 pound-feet of torque. The great news is you can still get a 6-speed manual or the 10-speed automatic. 0 to 60 with the 10-speed automatic, about 3.8 seconds. Quarter mile in 12.3 seconds at 116 miles an hour. I guess the bummer is that if you're going for a top speed run, it's governed to 155 miles an hour. The vehicle weighs 3,947 pounds. MPGs, you're looking at 14 in the city, 23 on the highway. Let's talk about this engine though real quick. You can see your new dual throttle body setup. You have your twin air inlets with separate air filters. So you actually have 2 different air filters on the new Mustang GT. I love the way that they did the engine cover. And I'm gonna go ahead and peel this off. This is some that should have been removed during PDI, but I love the way you can now see the individual intake runners up top, and the cover looks very, very tasteful, especially with the Powered by Ford badge on the side. But of course, it's great to look at the engine. You can see that at Cars and Coffee and different car shows, but it's one thing to hear it. Let's go ahead, let's fire it up and hear this Mustang GT roar. All right, guys, we are inside this 2024 Mustang GT. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I've been looking at Zs. I can't find them anywhere at the dealerships. I really don't love a Supra, but I've always wanted a Mustang, and I'm so glad that they kept it pretty much like the way they had it last generation with all of that muscle car V8 goodness. But how much is it? Very good question. This one, the way that it's optioned, and that's including the Brembo brakes, which those cost $1,700, you're looking at an MSRP of $52,000. But let's see what you get for the money. To the door panels. I love the upgraded material in here, especially the two-tone. You have that off-white with the flat black, soft touch material up top. You'll notice how they did like a carbon fiber style design actually built into the door panel. So it's not like they stuck extra panels on, which is nice. The contrast stitching below that two-tone looks great. And then everything else has a familiar Mustang feel. The door pocket is a pretty good size. You could get a big Buford from Checkers in there and some Checkers fries. The problem is you're gonna have to put your milkshake somewhere else in that door pocket. Now going from the door panel to the dash, you got that Mustang name, a little bit of gloss black, but you're not gonna be touching it, so it's no big deal. There's more of that actual design that they put in the material, so they don't have to add a bunch of stuff that maybe will eventually squeak down the road. You got soft touch material up top. You slide on in, and this is the big talking point when it comes to technology on the interior. 12.3-inch infotainment system, full color graphics, and all sorts of goodies. Check this out. You got your auxiliary gauges. You even could do more. Look at that. Love the way they have that information there, the way it's tilted towards the driver. You have your different cluster themes, especially my personal favorite, bringing me back to my high school days, the Fox body gauges. I'll show you that when you come to the business side of things. Even track apps. You could adjust all of your exhausts. You could go into your preferences. All the AC controls are in the touchscreen. That's a zonk to me because when you're driving, it's a little hard to navigate with your index finger. The good news though is you have a heated steering wheel. We have 3 stages of heated seats and 3 stages of ventilated seats, which are really nice. Working our way down, your AC vents. I like the way they styled them with the little trim rings around it. You have your easy access button. So if you want to get to this screen, you just hit the horse, you hit the pony, and then everything else easy to get to. Dark atomic fireball red start stop button, a real volume knob, USB-C, USB-A, 12 volt and wireless charging, a place for a payday, because that's what you're gonna do when you go to the drag strip and you blow away the Supras and the Zs, is you're gonna get a paid day. 10-speed automatic, they retuned it. much faster shifting. You can also get the 6-speed manual. 2 cup holders, that's where you're gonna put your strawberry milkshake from Checkers. You got your standard Mustang key fob, still looking good, remote start. And then of course, you got your soft touch material on the armrest with the stitching. Open it up, you got another 12 volt and you got enough room in there, I would say, for 10 Atari cartridges. So if you have Galaga, Q*bert, Pac-Man, Track and Field, maybe even E.T. If you're holding on to that one, I would sell it because they're going for some pretty good money. You could save them right in there. Seats, that two-tone style, nice soft material. Love the perforated, the stitching. You do have a manual back, but you do have electric adjustments for the bottom portion. And then of course, I'm not gonna sit in it. You can see that in my other Mustang reviews, my other new Mustang reviews. You do have, of course, if I could just get this to, there we go, we got it. You got your back seats. I personally wouldn't sit back there. Steven isn't gonna sit back there, but if you have maybe a paper mache doll of yourself or a teddy bear, stuffed teddy bear, like you went to Build-A-Bear, you could put it back there. But why don't you come over here? I wanna show you where we could build some on throttle behind this new flat bottom steering wheel in the Mustang GT. All right guys, business time behind the wheel. Of course you have your Mustang sill plate. How do I know it's a Mustang sill plate? It actually says Mustang on it to remind you what car you bought. Pedal box, you do have an aluminum throttle and brake pedal. I just wish they would give you an aluminum dead pedal, for God's sakes. Is it really that much to ask? That would have been a nice touch. But there's your power seats only for the bottom. I do have to give it half a zonk. I don't like manual backs and power bottom. I'd rather just have all or none. That's just how I am. Steering wheel, all new for 2024. Nice leather, great notches, the 10 and 2 notches. You got some nice trim here, flat black on all the switch gear. You could go to your different modes very easily. We have paddles because this has the 10-speed automatic transmission. It is a manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. And then we have that ginormous 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. Let me show you the different versions of it. So this is the track mode. You put it in calm. Say you want to have a little Zen experience. That's the only information you have. Normal, but who the hell wants to be normal? Sport, feeling a little sporty, you pop your collar. And then my personal favorite, the Fox body gauges. Love the graphics, the colors, the fonts. The one thing it's missing is a head-up display in here. But let me know how you feel about the screens. I think they're growing on a lot of people. I know Steven's finally getting over it, so thank you, Steven, for taking care of that. I'm not gonna show you the trunk in this review. You know why? What I'm gonna do is, first of all, I'm gonna make the exhaust nice and loud, and that's how easy it is to do. So I can do this because we're gonna go on throttle in this Mustang GT. Let's get to it. All right, guys, we are in this 2024 Mustang GT. I have it in track mode. Nobody's behind us, so I'm gonna come to a complete stop and we're gonna go on throttle. On throttle, here we go, yeah! Whoa! Love the sound of that naturally aspirated V8, and you'll literally feel the difference in the way that the transmission shifts through its gears in this new S650 platform Mustang compared to the S550. Much faster, both upshifting and downshifting, and I like the way it like blips the throttle when you're slowing down. It really gives it a nice feel and keeps the chassis stable. Now on the interior, these seats are so comfy. If you don't want the Recaros, these are an excellent seat to go with when it comes to comfort. The problem is they don't have a ton of lateral grip. So I wish the bolstering was a little bit higher, just a little bit on the top and the bottom. The Recaros, of course, are gonna be much more aggressive and have full manual controls, and they're not heated or ventilated. So that's another thing that you have to take into consideration. The new steering wheel, the thickness, the flat bottom, the style of the buttons, great improvement over the previous generation. Visibility, of course, in a Mustang is excellent. And I'm telling you, once you get over the screens, they are very beneficial with the amount of information that they display. And I think that's another smart touch. Now, what are some of the downsides? Like I said, the big zonk is gonna be the AC controls. Easy to navigate through when you are sitting still, but when you're not sitting still, that's when you're gonna run into problems when you're driving on the road. It just gets a little difficult to do. But the two-tone in here is great. The materials are definitely upgraded over the previous gen. I wish they would have integrated the screens into the dash a little bit better. Even if they made them smaller and not made them go past the top of the dash line, would be a huge improvement over this particular touch. Now, with the modes, of course, you have where you have it in track, but you have sport, drag strip, slippery when wet, the whole 9 yards to help with getting traction to the ground. And the fact that this has that naturally aspirated V8 just makes me so happy. Now, if you're comparing this to the Nissan Z, the Z has more, remember, of that retro feel because it's literally got some of the parts on the interior, especially of the 370Z, and it does give you less room, interior room, and that just makes sense. It's a two-seat sports car where this has the two smaller seats behind us, and the same story with the Supra. The thing with this car, though, is you have so much more power than both of those cars, and that really is what allows you to have a unique experience over what those Japanese brands are bringing. Now, of course, the car weighs more than a Nissan Z or a Toyota Supra, so that's another thing to take into consideration, but you do have more horsepower, quite a bit more horsepower. 400 horsepower in the Nissan Z and around 380 horsepower in the Supra. But why don't we go ahead, we're gonna get on the highway here and we are gonna do some on throttle. Are you ready? On throttle, here we go. Yeah! See how it downshifts for you? I love that. Gets the power down really nicely, and as I'm slowing down, that 10 speed is downshifting. It's like blipping the throttle, keeping the chassis very stable. Brakes feel good. Those massive Papa Smurf Blue Brembos. Are you ready? On throttle! Yeah! Nice, look at this. Handling is really, really sublime. They actually increased the handling capability with the chassis, with the suspension. They retuned the steering. And if you've driven the previous generation Mustang GT, you're gonna immediately know the differences. Now, is it perfect? No. The steering in the Supra is much more on point. Z, the problem with the Z is the suspension is too soft. And even if you go Z Performance, it's still gonna be soft. This car is kind of in between the two, the Supra and the Nissan Z. Obviously, if you want that ultimate, you would either option Magna Ride suspension or get yourself a dark horse. But it really holds a line nicely. The best news is when you go on throttle. On throttle, here we go. Nice. And then like I said, the brakes, those Brembos are gonna just shed speed just like a husky sheds hair. But that V8 sound, especially having the Ford Performance Active exhaust, you make it louder, you make it quieter, really allows you to feel and have all your senses just pinging with excitement because you got that V8 rumble, because you have that exhaust note. And if you don't want to roll through your own gears, the 10-speed automatic, especially at the drag strip, is gonna be the way to go. Consistent shifts, and it fires them off one after another very, very quickly. But driving down the highway, what you're gonna notice is a more comfortable ride, and they did better work with the rigidity of the chassis and some sound deadening materials to where it's not as loud wind noise. You can hear plenty of exhaust noise, but you're not having to worry about wind noise. And what I love about the exhaust noise, it's the real deal thing. It's not piped in like a Supra or like the Nissan Z. It really is the real deal. Seeing the dash, even with a sunny day, there is some glare, but it's not as bad as you think, which is nice. But still, I just wish they would integrate it a little bit more. I'm gonna put it into manual shift mode. We're gonna use the paddles. Are you ready? On throttle, here we go, second gear. Nice. Really just fires those shifts off. Boom, boom, boom. You got a little bit of a burble coming from that exhaust. Ah, I can listen to this all day. I really can. Really nice. Downshift. See that? Downshift a second. Wait to build some space here. Downshift to first. Are you ready? Because I'm about ready. On throttle, here we go. Nice, into this turn. Holds the line nicely, drift it out. Apex back down, and we are off. Nice. Now, it is feeling over the bumps when I'm going on throttle a little floaty, but like I said, this is just a standard Mustang GT. My advice, you don't have to go all the way dark horse to have a good time in a Mustang. Now that's an easy way and a shortcut to have as much fun in this naturally aspirated 5-liter as you can. But another way to do it is get the performance pack. The performance pack with the Magna-Ride suspension, I'm telling you, is probably one of the best bangs for your buck in this Mustang GT. So don't think that you have to go dark horse. You don't necessarily have to go dark horse. You could go performance pack, and I'm glad that Ford kept that option. It's nice to have that in between. It doesn't have to be all or none, even though sometimes I live my life all or none, but it doesn't have to be that way, which is a nice touch. But the ease of driving this car is great. Even though we don't have the super high performance Pirelli tires like you would get on the performance pack or the dark horse, you're still getting the traction to the ground pretty good. And of course, even though you're dealing with extra weight, you're still gonna enjoy the overall handling characteristics of this new Mustang GT. But I love being in these cars, you know that. I love bringing them to you, and I'm just glad that Ford did not give up on the naturally aspirated V8 like some other brands did. You ready? On throttle, here we go. Golly, incredible, absolutely incredible. The torque is so plentiful, nice and linear, and I like the way that the different modes, like we're in track mode now, really adjust the sensitivity of the steering and the throttle so that each mode has such a different feel. But I'm hoping that this has been a great overall review, that sound, of the Mustang GT, the standard Mustang GT with an automatic transmission. We're gonna get back to Walker Ford and wrap this one up, so I'll see you in a Mustang minute. All right guys, it's been another V8 on throttle kind of day here at Walker Ford. I definitely want to thank the whole Walker Ford team, especially Frank Walker, Weston Walker, Tracy, and Mark the Gooch. But let me know what you think about this iconic silver Mustang GT. Did Ford do it right? Are you wishing that they went more in a different direction on the redesign? Or are you digging what they're bringing over a Nissan Z or a Toyota Supra? But let me know down in that comment section. If you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Radies Rides family. Of course, none of this would be possible if it wasn't for Stephen Flood Photography. He's wearing his big sombrero today because of the sun. Show him some love in the comment section. Hola, mi amigo. Gracias, Stephen. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.